Hello and welcome to round 4 of the Japan finals. We've got another Swiss round here for you on the channel. And just to be clear so everybody knows, this is not the official live stream of this event. This is just a recording of me trying to get some practice of English commentary to make it onto the big stage. If you want to go check out the official championships, you can click the link in the description below. I do have that there for you to view. But just going over the deck distribution for this event, in case you do not know, there were 29 boas out of 61 players, almost 50% of the room thought Boa was the best deck in format. You've got 6 people playing blue, yellow Nami, which made a lot of noise in this tournament if you do not know. Purple, yellow Rosinante at 5 copies. Trafalgar Law that we saw in the last round, 4 copies of that back from OP01. You got 4 Dracula Mihawks. Sitting at 3 copies each, you got blue, purple Luffy and blue, purple Sanji. 2 copies each, you've got red, black Sabo, which is one of the features of this match, as you know by the title and thumbnail, and Emu and Ace, and then the lone Kobe that we saw earlier in the Swiss rounds. We'll get into the match just here in a second, but first, let's hear from more from our sponsor. Net Garden just put up 2 brand new pre-orders on their website, and there's some of my favorite products that they've done yet. The first one being the Empress playmat. You can style out your deck with your favorite waifu, while also wearing some brand new crossbody bags. The crossbody bags are a great design and size to fit your deck box, dice, everything you need. They come in one of 2 beautiful styles, varying in color. Both the playmat and the crossbody bags are hot right now, so go ahead and make your order before they run out. And if you want to get them both, there's a special deal going on right now. If you go ahead and pre-order the Empress playmat and also get a crossbody bag, you'll get $5 off the crossbody bag. This $5 deal also works with any Net Garden playmat on their website. And you can use my code Atrocious at checkout to get 10% off of that on your order. There's no better time to style out your game with Net Garden, the sponsor of this video. And thank you so much for supporting the channel. The link will be down in the description below. And again, use code Atrocious to save money at checkout. Hope you're as ready as I am to rock this new stuff. And let's get back to the video. And so going into this match now, it's going to be Sabo versus Boa. Now, this is going to be a really interesting one, right? Blue-yellow Boa heralded as the best deck after the release of EB04 in Japan, right? Japan getting the full release of EB04 with the red, yellow, and black cards. Sabo being a red-black leader, very defensive deck. Going to be interesting to see how he works around the burn, right? Being a 5-life leader is going to be very beneficial to him, especially in the longevity of this game, right? Boa, very nice against 4-life leaders because of that burn potential that they can utilize. But Sabo being able to swarm the board with these different blockers, these different bodies, and eventually in the late stages of the game, gain the extra 1000 power across the entire side of their field is going to be so beneficial from trying to get rid of these attacks. We even saw in the last round with the red-green Law, the Law playing down 8-cost Kid. Boa couldn't really get around that because a lot of their characters at around like 5,000 power, 6,000 power base. Sabo might be nice being a 6k leader, might be easier to get out of some of these attacks, but also an 8,000 power blocker in that secret rare can be a lot of good value. Could get a lot of free blocks during the stage of this game. So that's going to be the most important thing for Sabo, getting those guys out on the field. Typical for the game plan, right? Typically with red-black Sabo, if you don't see the secret rare red-black Sabo, it's a bad game for you. And so looking at the Boa's hand right now, doesn't look too bad, right? Whether you're on the odd or even curve, you do have a turn 2 play in the Marguerite or the 4-cost Boa, and also some Kumas to be able to heal, especially after you look at that top 3. The Sabo has an interesting hand, has some searches in the Bello Betty and a Monkey D Garb, so we'll hope to see that he can find some pieces of the puzzle. He's got also a 4-cost Koala in the hand. That's one of the new SRs that you may have in the West with EB03 now that it has released. Is going to be an automatic 8-cost body, and if it's KO'd, you can play a 6-cost or less from your hand onto the field that's not named Nico Robin in the Rev Army typing, which could be a secret rare Sabo. So you have an opportunity to swarm that out onto the field. The Boa might ignore it for most of the game, but you could still utilize it. Now going into the Boa, going first in this one, does not have a 1-Don play to utilize, as most Boa lists with the EB04 format don't run 1-drop searchers like Sengoku or anything of the sort anymore. The Sabo is going to go with Bello Betty and find the Rev Army HQ. The Rev Army HQ is going to be a very nice thing to establish, right? Boa does not have stage removal, and the Rev Army HQ is going to be able to cycle through the deck and be able to build up the trash. So after playing that down and searching for it, we'll see what he decides to pitch here. Is going to go ahead, pitch a Koala. He's got 2 in hand, really only needs 1. I do like this Koala pitch. Now looking at that top 3, finds a couple different cards. Morley, a nice 2K. You also have Hack in there, and can't grab the Garp. Is looking like he's going to grab that 2K Morley. Is going to be nice to have a little bit of counter, because there's not really a lot of cards I feel like that you want to trash super early in this game, especially with the 8-cost Rush Dragon and the hair removal fist. So is going to go ahead with that 5K swing, just counter out with that Morley that we saw. And now the Marguerite coming in for a search on the Kuja Pirates or Amazon Lilies. Looking inside that top 5, does find a Shaku Yaku and Perfume Femur. Perfume Femur going to be really good in this matchup, but passes it off for the Boa, especially with such a defensive deck in Sabo. That Forced Burn is going to be super beneficial, and passes on the Rayquaza help. Now going into Sabo's 4-Don turn, does have that Koala he could play onto the field, and also utilizing that Rev Army HQ stage. He may go even with some more searching, right? We've got that 1-cost Garp in the hand, especially because he's passing up and discarding the 4-cost Koala that we had in that hand for the Rev Army HQ. Does find that Secret Rare Sabo alternate art there. That's going to be very nice to be able to play. Might just go in with some more searching, right, to be able to build up the hand and figure out everything he needs. But looks like he's going to be tapping for in general. Oh, he found a 3rd Koala. Didn't even see that. He must have drawn it for turn. That Koala going to be very nice, right? Not only is it going to be an 8-cost for your upcoming turns to be able to activate your leader effect, but like I mentioned, get that Sabo off the field. So Boa, not typically in this format at least, having much bottom decking, especially for some of these lower cost cards like Koala, is probably going to stick on the field, and we'll see if he tries to battle against it later. Now sitting at the 5-Don turn, probably going to go ahead and play this 4-cost Boa to be able to get that blocker onto the field as a 6K body, and so is thinking about attaching 1 to Marguerite and swinging 6,000 power at the 4,000 power Sabo leader, right? Because you're not at 3 or less life. Does take it, and now going in with the Boa is going to reorder that top 3. We see another 9-cost Boa in that top, also a Marguerite. Didn't see what the 3rd card was, but he did put it on the top, so we'll see it eventually. Is now going with the swing at lead. Is going to be another life and take. Is going to be a 1-drop Searcher Koala to put in, or actually, yeah, I think that is the 1-drop Searcher Koala. The alternate arts for the 1-drop Searcher and the 4-cost EB03 version are very similar in art. And so now going into a full 6-Don turn, more than likely going to be playing that Sabo onto the field. Now that you're at 3 or less life, you are going to be a 5,000 power base leader, right, because of Sabo's leader effect. And once he gets a Don attached to that leader, because he's got an 8-cost on the field already, he will be a 6K leader for the turn. We also see a 7-cost Rush Zoro in the hand from EB04. That card has just been so good for any red deck, right? Most red decks playing at least 1 or 2 copies of the card, especially some of these bigger body decks. And so is going to go ahead, pitch the 8-cost Dragon on the field to search within that top 3. Does find a Roger, can't grab it, but is going to be curious if he can find that later in the game. Sabo very often cycles through their deck. Now putting that 4-cost Koala in hand, more than likely just going to be a 1K counter card, right? Because you're going to play that Sabo down on the field. Boa more than likely not going to KO it, and so gets that Sabo down, uses that activate main to make him an 8-cost character through his opponent's next turn and get arrested Dawn on leader. Now everything on Sabo's side of the field is going to be plus 1,000 power. The leader is going to be 6,000 power, my apologies. The Koala is going to be 6,000 power on the swing, and the Sabo blocker going to be an 8K blocker. Definitely a strong, powerful start for the Sabo here, I would say. But just goes ahead and passes off the turn because of that Dawn attached to the leader. Did not want to swing at the Marguerite and just passes off. goes into the next turn, just tries to build up the board before we go in with swinging. And we see that strategy a lot of times with different decks, things like UP Luffy, right? Builds up a board, gets a couple bodies down before they go in with the aggressive swing, just in case of triggers, because of those extra bodies that Boa can play. Boa now on the 7 Dawn turn is going to go in with the Kuma to go up to 5 life. Still has 1 Dawn left to be able to utilize. Is going to be able to get 1 or 2 swings, but passes off the turn because of that blocker Sabo. Both players just going a more passive route, right? A more patient side. And so now at this point, going into Sabo's 8 Dawn turn, it'd be really nice if he had something like an 8-cost Black Dragon to be able to play onto the field and actually pitches the secret rare Sabo off of the Rev Army HQ, more than likely going to play a dragon of some sort. He could also play the Zoro right now that he is at 8 Dawn. The Zoro could be just a nice character to establish onto the field, even though it wouldn't necessarily get rush because it is rush character specifically. It is going to be a threatening 9,000 power body. So is looking at getting the Bello Betty or the hair removal fist. If you go in with the Bello Betty, right, you would be able to play out both the 7-cost Rush Zoro and also the Bello Betty, but goes with the counter event, right? This is basically a 4K counter event for Sabo. Very nice defensive card. And it looks like tapping that 7, going in with the Zoro, because the Boa does not have an 8,000 power or higher body onto the field. He is not going to be able to gain that character rush, but again, that doesn't necessarily matter because of no tapped characters on the field for the Boa. Goes in with the 1-cost Searcher Koala first. Does find a couple cards, finds Rush Dragon and also the 2K Sabo. We did pitch a Rush Dragon earlier, so just getting one of those in hand, more than likely only running 2, maybe 3 at the most in this deck in my experience. And so has that 7 to be able to play down that Zoro. Would with that on play make the Sabo an 8,000 power leader through the Boa's turn. And again, like I was mentioning with the 8-cost Kid and these big giant characters, that buff to your leader can oftentimes stall out Boa for a turn, right? Prevent many of the other swings coming in. So is going to go ahead and give that plus 2,000 power now using Sabo's Secret Rare's Activate main effect to be able to get Arrested Dawn on leader to make him an 8K and plus 1,000 power across the board. This Zoro going to be a 7-cost 10,000 power character in the turns when this Dawn is attached to the Sabo is going to be such a big deal. So going in with the 4-cost Koala swing now is going to be a 6,000 power swing. Is going to go ahead, take that life, use the leader effect after playing the Marguerite off the trigger to draw 1 card, and then go in with the Marguerite effect to search within that top 5. You always want to draw the card off the leader effect first to have just another card in hand while evaluating all your different options. And with that search goes with the Shaku Yaku. We'll have to pitch one because of the Marguerite effect, so we'll see what he pitches. Only about 6 cards in hand before the pitch. We could, I don't know if I want to pitch the 9-cost Boa, to be honest, because it feels like on our 9 Dawn turns, we're just going to back-to-back play the Boa to be able to put down as much life as possible. So gets another trigger on the Gorgon Sisters. That was the original first life. They always have it on the first life, and is going to draw another card. And so now with the 9,000 power swing right here, is going to go ahead, block with the Boa, force the Sabo to take a life because of that leader effect, and the Sabo passing off the turn. Doesn't have any blockers on the field right now, but like I mentioned, the only real threat on this turn is the Kuma, and that's if he attaches Dawn to the Kuma. If he goes ahead and plays this Boa, and then the Gorgon Sisters effect can proc off, that's the only way that he's going to be able to get this Kuma to swing. So goes ahead now, takes the life because of that 9-cost Boa. You can only expect 1 swing this turn, and you just have to 1K out of it. We'll see how aggressive he goes with the secret rare Sabo blocker from now on as his lone blocker on the field. So now he's going to use that Gorgon Sisters effect to reveal 3 different Kuja Pirates or Amazon Lily types, the Boa, Gorgon Sisters, and Shaku Yaku, right? A fair amount of counter. Also letting him know he has another boss monster in the hand. Is going to go ahead and put a Dawn to every single leader, right? Arrested Dawn. So now goes in, attaches them. What he may do is try to battle this Koala, right? No blockers on the field. It is an attacking threat, but you have to think about how potentially this Koala can spit out something like another secret rare Sabo. You saw him pitch one earlier because of the Rev Army HQ. So how likely do you think he's got one in the hand? There are plenty of different characters that the Sabo can spit out, right? We see the PRBO2, 2K Sabo in the hand. That could be an option as well. But starts out going 8,000 power, I think, at the blocker Sabo, and now is a 1K counter from that koala, right? Trying to get this blocker off the field to be able to make it easier to swing with later in the turns, and just passes off to the Sabo. Does not want to go in and swing at the koala. Doesn't want to risk another big body, right, of those blockers, which are so important to come out onto the field. Now goes in and draws a OP04 draw Sabo, right? That blocker that was so good back in the day in Black Hill Luffy, Sakazuki, right, with that effect of drawing 2 and trashing 2. But starts off with the Rev Army HQ, just pitches the Rev Army HQ that he had in hand. Easy pickings to look at that top 3 and maybe grab some counter, or the 8-cost Dragon. Ends up going with the secret, or the PRBO2 Sabo, my apologies. Maybe thinking about playing the 8-cost Dragon on this turn to try to get some swings in now and really rush down this boa, right, with no blockers right now. Especially if you play the 8-cost Dragon, you would be able to give 2 Rested Dawn onto one of your searchers, and then the Secret Rare Sabo effect would be able to play out another Dawn onto your leader, which would put your Koala Searcher at 5,000 power and be able to swing at the boas. So now going in with a Garp is going to have a couple different options. Either 8-cost Red Dragon or 8-cost Black Dragon looks like are the 2 pickings here for you. I kind of think that 8-cost Red Dragon might be a really good pick right now for this Sabo, right? Just being able to play that in back-to-back turns and really ramp up the aggression, and again, utilize those one-drop searchers like I was talking about, could actually be very vital, especially as Boa has only a 6-card hand right now. You know there's a couple 2Ks, but if you can catch them having no counter in hand, your 5K swing might actually get a 2K, so could be really interesting. Off of the Garp, trying to find that Gold D Roger like they're showing on the screen right now. We bottom decked it earlier, potentially playing maybe 2 copies of this. Has 9 Dawn left to work with, could utilize that 9 Dawn to get aggressive, maybe leave one up on the defensive side for a hair removal fist, knowing that we have at least 1 in the hand, 2 of them tops. Is going to go ahead with the 8-cost Black Dragon. This 8-cost Black Dragon right here might be something that he'll play over the 2 searchers that he's got to be able to get another blocker Sabo. I don't necessarily hate this play either, right? You do get another blocker on the field, which is going to be an AK to be able to defend against some of those swings, and allows you also to reutilize another Dawn to be able to swing even bigger numbers with your leader at least. So is thinking about the 3 different Rev Army cards that he can put back within the deck. Typically, I like putting in like 2Ks and stuff as well as searchers, and so that's exactly what he's going to be doing right here. Goes Morley, Koala, and Bello Betty, right? The searchers might be useful to try to play out different characters or grab different 2Ks and stuff like that that are within your deck. So a full board now for this Sabo, using 2 of the Activate mains on the Secret Rares to be able to make those an 8-cost and get 2 Rested Dawn onto your leader. Now is going to be an 8,000 leader on the swing, a 6,000 power leader base for the turn, but it is going to be nice right there. The 6,000 power swing automatically getting that Shaku Yaku, a 2K in the hand. Now the 8,000 power swing going to be claiming the life. Thinking about putting it onto the field as a trigger or putting it in hand. You might play over one of these marguerites if you want, but no, just puts it in the hand is a nice little 1K. I agree with that. I think you'd rather have the attacking threat now that Sabo is back to a 6,000 power leader. You want as many pokes as possible when you go ahead, play down the 9-cost Boa, and then reutilize a ton of that Dawn off of the Gorgon Sisters, especially because you're going to be putting this Sabo down to 0 if you play it. Now the 10,000 power Zoro swing is going to also net a life right here and pass off the turn and put the Boa in a situation to where maybe this Sabo has lethal in the next turn, right? Even though necessarily that you with the 9-cost Boa is going to be able to heal one, the Sabo player, you know that 8-cost Dragon is in hand, and as soon as he attaches 1 Dawn, he's going to be able to swing at least 6,000 power and force you to get a 2K in the hand with the Koala. Sabo, though, just has to get out of this turn. We know there's a fair amount of counter in the hand, right? We see a couple 1Ks in the blocker from OP04. He's got a couple others like this Koala that he's using on that one. Just trying to save the free blocks, for as late as possible, I believe. And so now thinking about tapping the 9, this would be the time, in my opinion, to utilize the 9 cost Boa to get it off the field, burn that life, and then utilize Gorgon Sisters to be able to get the Rested Dawn everywhere. So got a fair amount of cards in hand right now. Is going to go in with that 9 cost play over the Marguerite, now going in and healing 1 while getting that Sabo to take their final life. We'll see what it is. One thing that Sabo does have to worry about right in the next turn is Perfume Femur, so maybe that's why stacking the hair removal fist earlier in the game. So it is going to use that Gorgon Sisters effect, get that Rested Dawn everywhere. Now all of these 5k bodies going to be able to swing 6 and 8,000 power and 11,000 power from the Kuma and Boa respectively. So trying to 1k out of these 6,000 power swings. Looks like he's actually going to free block right now. Does not want to give anything up in the hand at this point. You know that after this Kuma swing, there's only 3 swings left. I don't know. I feel like I would have gone 1k off of the 6,000 power swing, right? You've got a couple counter cards. You have 1, 2, only 3 counter cards in the hand before counter events. More than likely, one of your Sabos are going to get KO'd here, especially if they block, and is going to go 2k, 1k on that. I don't know, because it's telegraphed, I would feel like you would want to go in and counter out early on the first ones and saves the blocks. He's prioritizing the amount of people that he has to swing with, and so now going in and blocking that final one. Now the 6,000 power swing is going to go ahead and get the game because of no more counter hand. I feel like there was a way to get out of this. Okay, going with the 6,000 power swing, I agree with this koala, right? You want to just get most of the value from your 1k. And so now this swing, I feel like you could just go the 1k Sabo that's in the hand, right? Because it would get out of the attack. You would have this blocker up in theory. The 8,000 power swing, this one a little bit more difficult. I feel like you could potentially value just like a block and 1k maybe. Do you have another 1k if you get rid of this Sabo? Because he does go 2k, 1k to go to 9,000 power and get out of this swing. Looking at the hand, no, you wouldn't have another one of the counter cards. You would have to go like 2k out of it if you were to get out of that swing. And so if you 2k out of that swing, you just have the 2k Sabo and also the hair removal fist, which you still have 2 blockers on the field. And so in theory, with the math that I was doing, you do get out of that. I think this swing, you just have to accept that you lose a body on this. I think he's just trying to prioritize the bodies, but you would have, in theory, if you just went ahead and blocked this, you still have 1 free block, but also a 2k to get out of this swing in theory, and then like hair removal fist to get out of this one, right? Because the hair removal fist will only get you to 10,000 power. But I mean, I guess no, you would have to let one of the Sabos get KO'd. So then on the clapback with 3 life left, I mean, you would have to utilize, you would only have this 5,000 power, this 9,000, this 8,000 in theory if one of your blocker lives, and a 10,000, so 6, 10, or I'm sorry, this is 9,000 power, I believe. And then you could have a dragon come in with a 10,000 power swing and then put the 2 Dawn like maybe on leader. Or actually you could put the 2 Dawn on koala. You could just like hard play dragon to start the turn. Put the 2 Dawn on koala. Utilize one of the Sabos activate main to get another Rested Dawn on there. You still have 2 active Dawn remaining. And you could go like a number of 8, 8, 8, 9, 10, 10, and it would be 6 swings for 3 life and only 6 cards in hand. I mean, he didn't leave any Dawn up for counter events, so I don't know. I feel like that last turn we could have survived and clapped back. It might have been hard to like try to get the win, but I think you've got to give yourself a chance. I think you just have to accept, especially when you play the 9 cost so early and then, you know, reutilize the Dawn. They have no Dawn left over. You can math out the amount of swings. I don't know. I feel like we could have just given ourselves a chance, whereas this, we didn't give ourselves a chance. And I think over countering on this just didn't, yeah, I feel like some of these counters did not work, especially because if you're swinging 8s, right, it commands like 2 cards in the hand to utilize. It commands 2 cards, 2k, 2k to get out of the hand, which some 2ks were pitched pretty early from the previous turns on the Shaku Yaku, especially with the reveals, right? So I don't know. I just feel like I feel like we could have, I feel like we could have gotten there. But that's going to be all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that match and maybe learned a couple things from the Sabo deck, right? I think Sabo, even if you're in the West and we don't have access to that EB04 Zoro, is still a very cool deck to be able to utilize, especially with the new additions in EB03 and within the last couple months with that promo 4-cost Sabo. Definitely a great card. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out the other ones that we've got in the playlist on the channel. It's got every single round of the tournament, and for the rounds, especially once we get into the Top Cut, I'll just keep uploading them there. My name is Jake, or you can call me Atrocious, and I'll see you in the next one.